MultiChoice is Africa's most loved storyteller, and we were telling these stories on a digital platform.
I'm in my TikTok makeup tutorial era. I'm like, Gen Z is teaching me how to contour properly.
We have a community of insights walking around us. Because there's so many people around me in this community, I sit down and I ask, how do you feel about a certain thing? How do you use makeup?
I love that. Show, don't tell.
Yes.
I feel like that's my number one marketing. Show, don't tell.
A lot of brands make this mistake of telling influencers how to speak.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to South Africa Tech Marketers, the show where I chat with marketers across the country who are doing bold, brilliant work in South Africa and beyond. I'm Kirsty Lang, a senior content writer at Buffer, and today's episode is for anyone curious about what it takes to lead digital marketing at a global beauty brand. I'm joined by Zekhethelo Chiliza, Digital Marketing Manager at Benefit Cosmetics South Africa, and her journey is such a good one. Zekhethelo worked her way up from social media intern to heading up Benefit's digital marketing locally. Z, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kirsty. That intro was amazing. I did not expect it. I hope you're good.
Yeah, thank you for making time for coming on the show. I was saying to Z before we started recording, that I had gone really deep on her socials because they were just so fun to look at. I highly recommend following her on Instagram, by the way. So yeah, that is where all of that information came from. But of course, we had to have you on the show. You are doing brilliant work and you should be recognized for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I always get started with my guests right at the beginning. I would love to learn your career story. So how did you get to where you are today? Walk us through your journey.
100%. Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity once again. So I'm Zekhethelo Chiliza, and my journey has not been linear. It has had twists and turns. I started off in high school where I just loved poetry. I love storytelling as a whole. So being in the poetry club and reciting poems was just the cornerstone of my high school years. I then moved into varsity where I went to Rhodes University and I did legal theory and politics. Soon after graduating, I then went to the Market Theatre, which is a phenomenal space for thespians. And that's where I learned a lot about storytelling, how to tell stories, how to break into a character, how to build the character. Soon after that, I was one of the lucky ones where I had applied and I was selected into the Y Academy. And for those who know, in South Africa, the Y Academy is a part of YFM, which is basically a program where you're mentored and you learn everything broadcasting from the back end of things. And that's essentially where I learned and I fell in love with digital. And predominantly because that was storytelling, but not on television, on digital platforms. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Soon after that, I went and did another internship because you can't stop learning. Just because you've grasped a little bit, you need to continue and broaden your horizons. So I then went to Plum Social and Digital, where I got to learn firsthand about brands like DSTV, how they roll out their content. I was exceptionally fortunate to work during the elections. And I learned so much about the political landscape of our country, where we were rolling out digital content during this period. And then soon after that, I joined Duma Collective, where I spent about 4 years in the company. And that's where I learned and I honed in on a lot of my skills, from influencer marketing to digital strategy to content creation. And I was fortunate to work with companies such as Multichoice, where I was able to essentially curate the story that our client was looking for, because Multichoice is Africa's most loved storyteller. And we were telling these stories on a digital platform. I was able to be granted the opportunity to go and be part of a team that was representing our country at the Dubai 2020 Expo, where we were showcasing to the world what South Africa has to offer. And though this was a big project, we were able to take that big project and dice it up and give viewers at home the opportunity, whilst also watching this content rolling out live on digital platforms. And that was absolutely amazing. And then for me, I wanted more. Like, my appetite to tell more stories was like, what next? And then I moved to a foundation, a very prestigious foundation in South Africa that helps the people of South Africa. And I learned such a valuable skill of being able to tell stories in a way that respects communities while shining the light on what the foundation actually does. I stayed there for a year, and when I was in this foundation, I was able to learn so much about what different communities in our markets need within South Africa, how we can better have the conversation as a whole, and just talk about women, children, communities, education. And that just opened up a world for me. And then a year later, I challenged myself to take up a different career path. Still the same, still storytelling within the digital space, but now just within cosmetics. And it's been an exceptional journey to be a part of the Benefits Cosmetics South Africa team. I have been stretched. I have been asked to use my imagination in ways that I didn't think I could. And I will say that it's been amazing. So that's my journey. It's been all over, but it's one big, beautiful story.
I love that. It is beautiful. And I love the breadth of everything that you have gotten to do. There is definitely something to be said for making those moves into kind of different industries and spaces. You know so much. But you have segued me perfectly into talking about your role at Benefit. I'm a fan of the brand, so I'm super, super curious about this. I'd love to know, like, what does a day in the life look like for a digital marketing manager at Benefit, but also specifically for someone working locally for a global brand? What does that entail?
Well, firstly, it's fun. Because Benefit is all about fun. It's all about breaking the boundaries and the norm. We say laughter is your best cosmetic. We believe in instant beauty solutions, and basically a digital marketer somewhere else might be different to what a digital marketer is at Benefit. At Benefit, for me, I am someone who comes in and I do the strategy for the brand, how we land within this market, how we speak, who we speak to, being very direct as to which target audience are we speaking to within the retail space. How do we attract the customer? And then we move into the influencer part of it. How do we use our influencers within this landscape? Because it's not the same, you know? And then we move into the tonality, your copywriting. How do you speak to someone? What words do we use? What lingo do people in South Africa use? And we bring that into our brand. And then obviously insights, reporting. I always say that we have a community of insights walking around us. Because as digital marketers, you sit down and you're like, this is the brand. And this is what we have to achieve. But you forget to take in insights. And for me, because there's so many people around me in this community, I sit down and I ask, how do you feel about a certain thing? How do you use makeup? When was your first love? What's the first type of lipstick or lip stain or contour that you used? And then we start the conversation from there. I think how I've married the two is it's been challenging, but it's been so fun because one, I said earlier that I'm a storyteller. Before you tell a story, you have to ask yourself, who are you telling your story to? And that's what I take. I say, okay, cool. We're launching something big, something amazing. Who are we speaking to? Because the who will then inform how we speak to that person. From there, we then decide, will we roll out in a certain way? Will we use influencers? You know what I mean? So for us, the big thing at Benefits is telling the story authentically, using people and faces like that look like the South African markets. It's not a copy and paste of what our global team is doing. And that's what I love about Benefits. They allow for creativity. They stand for inclusivity, for women at the forefront of everything. So when we start ideating, before we move further and go and do dynamic things, we first say, are we understanding the needs of that specific market? And then we move into, okay, can we launch this here? Okay, now when we launch this here, how do we launch it? And what platforms do we use? Because where are the people that we are talking to?
Yeah, I love that, Z. All of that sounds so energizing. And I can see that you are genuinely, like, I was going to ask you, you know, which part of your job lights you up the most, but I feel like you lit up talking about everything. But let's just for fun. I mean, you work on so many things. You talked about influencers, you talked about social, content curation, analytics. What part of your job right now gives you the most energy?
I think it's the human interaction. For me, the aspect of learning. So customer insights, like I said, going out there and finding out how people resonate with our brand, what they love, how we can do better, how we can speak to them in a way that creates a connection. But also, I think it's in the content creation. I love content creation. I'm going to keep saying this. I'm a storyteller. So telling stories essentially navigates how I do my job. And then the content creation part of it, for example, when we're launching a product, it's about not telling the influencer, this is how we want you to speak. This is what must be said. We are a brand that says, okay, this is how you speak. We have come to you because we love your authenticity. We embrace people from all walks of life. So I think the touch of the human element is one of the most beautiful things that I get to do that light me up, because I'm a people's person. I'm someone who thrives on helping people, someone who thrives on coming into a room and explaining how we can do better, working together with people. I've always done well in group work. Some people don't enjoy it. I love it. So I think the aspect of people.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I can definitely tell that you are a people person. Like I feel really energized being around you. But like to your point about group work, I was the person just like, give me everything. I'll just go away and do it. And like, but that's not being a team player.
That's also okay.
I recognize this flaw.
But you know what? We're different, right? And we have different strengths. And yes, some people are good with group work, and some people are not really keen on it. And that's why you'll find that if you choose what you enjoy and what you love, you'll thrive in it, and you won't feel like you're put in a corner, you're boxed in a corner. Because can you imagine if you had to do something that was group work orientated every day? You wouldn't enjoy it. But because you do something where you are in control, you can put together your own schedule, you can move things around. You literally enjoy what you do because you are the custodian of what you do.
Oh, I like that. I think this is also why I love remote work as well. I just get to come into my little hidden office space. Nobody interrupts me except my toddler. So that's obviously not ideal. But yeah, the team is in the laptop and I can kind of just close them down if I need to. I love my team. They're amazing. But it does also help that they are US time zones, most of them. So like I get to do my own thing until I get to just heads down work until like 3 p.m. my time, which is lovely. And then after that, I kind of like have my people time. So yeah, this is how I navigate work as an introvert. You heard it here first. Z, I was going to ask you, I mean, you have kind of touched on this about a benefit, like how you're able to kind of translate their international assets to something that makes sense for South Africa. You spoke about kind of copy and how you make sure that there are South African faces. So, you know, your socials don't look American or wherever Benefit HQ is. UK? US?
San Francisco.
Oh, of course. How could it be anywhere else? I love that. Okay. So is there anything else that you kind of need to, any check boxes that you look to kind of when you receive assets and you're like, oh, how do I make this work? This isn't going to work. And like also, how do you deal with it if there is like pushback from, the powers that be, when you kind of feel strongly about this is how we need to approach or how we need to tell the story for South Africa and they kind of don't feel like that aligns, if that ever happens?
Cool. So I think for us, essentially, because our seasons are not aligned, right? Sometimes you'll find that from a global perspective, there's a campaign that's running and they're running it in summer. And for us, we're in the thick of winter. It takes creativity and the understanding of the market and understanding again who you're talking to. And by that, I mean, so they are in summer, but we are talking, let's say, a lipstick, right? And we're now launching it in winter, for instance. What we do is that we tweak the messaging to speak winter, but still give you that idea of you can still have summer in winter. You can still have rosy cheeks. You can still have that lovely glow, simply because now you're making it market relevant. It is so important to make something market relevant because that's how it lands within your market and people resonate with your brand, or they decide that you're tone deaf or you don't align. So we don't necessarily get pushback. Global always just wants to understand the why, and they're always open to, okay, you want to do it this way? Does it work for your market? Does it make sense? And if the powers that be see that it makes sense, we run with it. So from our global team, there's generally not a lot of pushback because what is exceptionally key for benefits is that in each market, benefit is represented, but it's represented in a way that speaks to directly to that specific market. It's not a copy and paste type of thing. So when we go and we say, okay, this is what's happening in our market currently, we need to be locally relevant. They say how. Does it align with respecting the values within the market? And if that's the tick, all the tick boxes are ticked and aligned with that, then you can go ahead. So for us as a brand, what is key is that within the markets, we are aligned with the voices within the markets. We're speaking to the right people. We're on the right platforms. And again, we're respecting how we put our content across, and we speak in a way that represents the people in that market.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think you can definitely tell that I've never worked for like a global consumer brand because like I was like, oh my God, seasons, of course. Like, how do you even like,
right?
That's a nightmare. Yeah. So I love that. Thank you. That's so interesting to know about like how much effort goes into that. I can't even imagine these companies that like don't have local teams. Like, how does that even work?
I think for them, what they've done is they may not have local teams, but they do the research because it's all in the research. If you go in and you do the research and you see what the market is doing, you are able to adopt that. I think there's an added advantage within having a local team within that market, but it's not to say that if you're not in that market, you can't do the right research and get the right information and also do focus groups virtually and find out what is happening within a specific market. So it is doable, but personally, I would advise having a local team within the specific markets.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I bet Benefit is super glad that they have you to figure all of this stuff out. And I mean, maybe that's why I've always resonated so much with Benefit in your marketing because it's just really good.
We're cool. We're cool.
I love I Tell You Z. I'm in my TikTok makeup tutorial era. I'm like, Gen Z is teaching me how to contour properly, how to not like look old. I have learned so much about my whole feed is just like makeup tutorials. I love it.
I love that because TikTok has literally changed everything. stuff that you wouldn't necessarily get access to, or for instance, were hard to consume because it's long form content, you can now get in bite-sized pieces from someone who you resonate with, that looks like me and you, that speaks like me and you. And then it just bridges the gap. It makes the world smaller, because I can reach you from the ends of the earth, and you can know what's happening in my world, and I can know what's happening in your world. It has literally changed the way we receive information. I love TikTok. It's one of my favorite platforms. I think it's changed the way that we engage with content, and it has brought back authenticity. And I think from a lot of the platforms, people were missing authenticity, and just seeing someone live their everyday life and say, oh, she does that, I do that. Also, there's people who do that like I do that, So for me, I think having a platform that has been able to do that is exceptional.
Yes, everything that you have said. I kind of want to pull on that thread a little bit. Like when you do your influencer campaigns, because what you said about like the aesthetics and the polish and stuff, I feel like Instagram is just, that's kind of where it's landed, right? And it's all very curated and like, I don't want to say fake. It's not fake, but I think it's very, like a lot of it can be quite staged. Whereas TikTok, that almost falls, yeah, sure, aspirational. Whereas TikTok, that kind of falls flat. So I'd love to know, like for the South African market, you're like, okay, we're doing a launch. Mm-hmm. We've got this product. How do you kind of decide on influencers? Are you going to be like, oh, we're going to select this person because they have a following on both and they can do both platforms? Or yeah, I'd love to know just like how you think about it.
So for us, at the top of everything, authenticity is key. We don't push just numbers. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you don't want someone saying, oh, I'm using this pencil, and then tomorrow, oh, I'm using this brow pencil, or you know what I mean? It needs to be someone who resonates with the brand. So when we select our influencers, we select people who love the brand first and foremost, who have followed the brand, and some people perhaps who don't know about the brand but want to learn more about what we have to offer. And then we dig deep and we say, okay, cool. What type of content do you make? So I sit down and I'm like, what type of content do you make? And they tell me like, I like lifestyle content. We enjoy this and we enjoy that. And then we sit down and we say, okay, cool. This is what we want to bring to the table. You tell us your story. And they say, okay, cool. This is how I want to tell it. And we say, okay, go ahead. Because at the end of the day, a lot of brands make this mistake of telling influencers how to speak. And that literally lands in a way that's inauthentic. And the customer can see that this is just a paid piece of content. Whereas customers do know that influencers are paid. But when it's an everyday life thing and she's going to the gym, but she's doing her eyebrows, that makes sense. She wants to do her eyebrows before she goes to the gym. And instead of saying, hey, buy this, we're saying, oh, she was going to the gym and she popped on her mighty fine pen and she rushed out and was still on for 18 hours. It works. Now we've touched on the claim of what exactly the product does, and we've actually shown you without putting it in your face and running to advertise, buy now, we're here, but we're showing you how it works. So we literally sit down with our influencers and we say, cool, this is the type of content that you do. Now let us adapt to how you do it and incorporate the products so that so that we can show the claims. So the claims speak for themselves instead of you just giving your audience a bunch of facts that you probably don't understand. Let's show them how it works as opposed to just throwing information.
I love that. Show, don't tell.
Yes.
I feel like that's my number one marketing. Show, don't tell. That perfect. Yes. I would also like to let you know that I am available for TikTok influencing. I once did a video that went really viral, like a get ready with me video, but it went viral because my makeup was so bad. I did. It was terrible.
We've got you.
I was contouring and talking to the camera about something. And then I just like forgot that I hadn't like blended the contour. So I actually think I ended up deleting the video because it had like, I think it had like 117,000 views or something. And like, of course, this video would go viral of me with my like stripe.
But can I tell you?
Yeah, no, TikTok is wild.
But can I tell you, there's beauty in that, because you then probably had people trying to assist you and saying, Kirsty, the next time put your contour here. Maybe you had a whole community of people across the world, within your world, telling you, assisting you. And if that's not a community, if that's not the brilliance of TikTok and the brilliance of marketing, then what is? You had more than 1,000 people assisting you. Yes, you didn't know where to put your contour. Everybody starts somewhere. But at the end, you now know. Now you know where to place your contour.
Yeah. You know what? Like, TikTok is something else. And of course, that I've been on social my entire life and kind of building platforms on various audiences. And TikTok is the one that it's just the best. I have so much fun with TikTok, for better or for worse. I know. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent now, but
but yes, I think there's various other platforms that are amazing. I wouldn't rule them out. I wouldn't solely stick to TikTok. You have YouTube, which is long form video content and is doing exceptionally well. You still have X, that puts out content where it's a community of conversations, and also you still have Instagram. So those platforms shouldn't just be ruled out because there's TikTok, but you need to learn as a brand how to use those in unison, how to use SEO keywords in order to put your brand out there. How to essentially use paid media to boost your content in order for you to be seen by the right type of audience, to target your content for the right type of audience.
So has Benefit ever considered LinkedIn for beauty content? Because I feel like there could be something there, right? Like, this is my Zoom look. Do you know what I mean? This is my eyebrow. This is my Zoom eyebrow go-to.
First of all, we already have a LinkedIn account at Benefits from a global perspective. And that's a moment for our brand to showcase the culture at Benefits within the different markets. It's an opportunity to showcase how we are aligned and we understand essentially some of the socio-economic challenges that happen in the various markets and how we come together as allies within the markets. Like I said, Benefit Cosmetics is not just about we're selling. It's a brand that cares about the people. So when there's different activities within the markets, that's the opportunity for us as a brand to come in and become allies, to assist. So we use that platform to tell that story of, we were here doing this. Like, we essentially, we are the number one brow brand globally. And within a year, we run a campaign where each brow wax that is done, we give back to a center that essentially assists people who have survived domestic violence and so forth. So we use that platform as a space to showcase that outside of just the cosmetic side of our business, what we do within markets that is meaningful, that connects with the people, that tells the story of a brand that looks beyond just cosmetics, because cosmetics is beauty. We tell a story of beauty, of how you find yourself. You might love a little bit of makeup. We're here for you as a brand. You might love a lot of makeup. We're here for you as a brand. And we support people within each region. And we use a platform like LinkedIn to tell that story, but also to tell the story of how do people that work at Benefits on a day-to-day basis. What does it look like to be a part of a team that is one that is about synergy, one that assists each other, one that has fun, and one that's a pink brand. Like, we're pink, we're fun. You see us from a mile away.
Oh, Z, I love that. That is such a lovely note to end on. Definitely, if you're listening, go follow Benefit on LinkedIn. I'm going to go and do that straight away. Speaking of following, Z, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your work?
So I work, and I neglect my own socials. I'm more just there for leisure. But on Instagram, I am at Zekhethelo Chiliza. And that's just where you'll find some content, because I'm so fixated on just doing my job. So by the time my head hits the pillow, I'm not thinking about my own content. But that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, fair enough. I know you're also on LinkedIn as well. I think the first one to follow you there. I've seen you
and again, it's
Zekhethelo.
Yes. So I am Zekhethelo Chiliza as well on LinkedIn, and yeah.
Okay, amazing. Go and follow Zekhethelo wherever you get your socials. That is, I don't know if that's a weird way to say things. If you are just tuning in for the first time, this podcast is the brainchild of the Global Talent Co. They help connect wonderful South African talent with international companies who are looking to fill roles. If you are looking for your next remote gig, or you are looking for amazing South African talent, definitely check out their website. It is globaltalent.co. And if you are a South African marketer looking to level up, we also have a really, really cool community. It's called SA Tech Marketers in Slack. You'll find the link to join in the show notes. We would love to have you there. And that is everything for the day. Z, thank you so much. It has been a delight.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here and just having this amazing conversation. I really hope that people get inspired to do what they love. And I think outside of everything, if you realize that you have a community of insights walking side by side with you, you will literally make easier decisions within your career.